Old Hollywood was a time when many stars had to hide who they truly were, all to keep their careers safe. The pressure to conform was immense, and revealing certain parts of their identities could mean the end of their time in the spotlight. Here are some of the most notable figures from the Golden Age who, despite fame, lived with secrets, either because of Hollywood's rigid expectations or their own personal battles with identity. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson, one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men, was the very definition of a heartthrob in the Golden Age of Hollywood. Behind that dashing smile and effortless charm, Hudson hid a private life he could only share with a very trusted few. His agent, Henry Wilson, built Hudson's image carefully, crafting him into the ultimate romantic hero while keeping his homosexuality under wraps. At that time, Hollywood standards demanded that leading men project a strong, straight image, so Hudson had no choice but to keep his relationships private. To suppress any suspicion, Wilson arranged a marriage between Hudson and his secretary, Phyllis Gates. For 3 years, Hudson and Gates maintained a marriage that served as a shield from public scrutiny, yet Hudson's private life remained his own. In the early 60s, Hudson met Lee Garlington, a young film extra who would become a significant figure in his life. Their connection ran deep, but they had to keep their love hidden. Hudson and Garlington went to great lengths to appear as just friends, even going to events with female dates to keep up appearances. For Hudson, the thought of coming out was unthinkable, as it would have meant the end of his career. They shared tender, quiet moments, often enjoying simple pleasures like Hudson teaching Garlington to shave or taking long road trips together, escaping Hollywood's pressures. The secrecy weighed on both men, and eventually, the need to protect Hudson's career caused them to separate. In 1984, Hudson was diagnosed with HIV, a disease that carried intense stigma at the time. At first, his team kept it a secret, but eventually, Hudson became the first major celebrity to announce his diagnosis publicly. This brought much-needed awareness to AIDS, a disease that had largely been ignored. Tragically, Hudson passed away in 1985, leaving behind a legacy not only of talent, but of resilience. 30 years later, Garlington reflected on their love, describing Hudson as his true love, and revealing just how much they had meant to each other. Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero, known as the Latin from Manhattan, became a beloved star thanks to his charm, sophistication, and flair. He dazzled audiences with his roles as Latin lovers, gangsters, and eventually as the Joker in the 1960s Batman series. But while Romero's on-screen characters were bold and expressive, his personal life was far more guarded. Hollywood knew him as a bachelor, often seen escorting beautiful actresses to events. Behind this facade, Romero led a private life known only to a select few. Romero's sexuality was a secret he kept closely guarded, and it wasn't until much later that the public learned the truth. In the book Hollywood Gaze by Bose Hadley, Romero gave candid interviews describing his hidden life and connections with other Hollywood figures, including rumors of a relationship with Daisy Arnaz. The pressures of Hollywood in the mid-century meant that being openly gay was not an option, and Romero knew that revealing his true self would likely mean the end of his career. So he walked a tightrope, maintaining a public persona while protecting his private life. Despite this secrecy, Romero remained true to himself within his trusted circles. He chose discretion, keeping his private relationships out of the spotlight to protect his image. Carrie Grant. Carrie Grant, the quintessential Hollywood heartthrob, was adored by audiences for his sophisticated charm and wit. Yet, behind his polished exterior was a private life that Hollywood's strict standards forced him to conceal. According to the documentary Women He's Undressed, Grant was bisexual, having relationships with both men and women throughout his life. His longest and most complex relationship was with Australian costume designer Ori Kelly. They shared a love that lasted on and off for over 3 decades, but the relationship was anything but easy. Grant, a former vaudeville performer, faced immense pressure to present a straight image, and Hollywood's homophobic studio system made it clear that there was no room for deviation. This pressure strained his relationship with Ori Kelly. Over time, Kelly grew resentful of Grant's interest in blonde women, and tension began to grow between them. Katherine Thompson, the writer of the documentary, recounted incidents of serious conflict, including one in which Grant reportedly threw Kelly out of a moving car during a heated argument. Their relationship was complicated, marked by both love and resentment, and the weight of Hollywood's pressures loomed over them throughout. Grant's story shows just how demanding and restrictive Hollywood was, often pushing its stars to sacrifice personal happiness to maintain a sellable image. James Dean. James Dean, Hollywood's rebel and ultimate bad boy, became a symbol of teenage angst and rebellion with roles that captured youthful intensity. Yet his life off-screen was just as intense and full of secrets. Rumors about Dean's romantic interests were always present, with friends and colleagues noting that he was attracted to both men and women. Dean never spoke publicly about his sexuality, likely due to the pressures of Hollywood and the risk it posed to his rising career. Dean's complex personal life only added to his allure, giving him an air of mystery that fans couldn't get enough of. Those close to him saw glimpses of his private struggles as he tried to navigate relationships in an industry that demanded strict conformity. His untimely death at 24 in a car accident left fans devastated and added another layer to his mystique. With so many unanswered questions surrounding his life, Dean's legacy remains one of raw talent, rebellion, and secrecy. His death solidified his image as Hollywood's tragic icon, a symbol of hidden desires and the price of fame. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was a brilliant actor known for his emotional depth and realism, bringing a method-inspired approach that captivated audiences. But off-screen, Clift's life was filled with personal turmoil and secrets. A leading man in a time when straight was the Hollywood standard, Clift had romantic relationships with men, but he had to keep these relationships hidden. Within his close circles, Clift's sexuality was understood, though rarely spoken about publicly. Friends and colleagues witnessed his struggles with identity, societal expectations, and the pressures of stardom, all of which weighed heavily on him. These conflicts often pushed Clift into bouts of depression and substance abuse. After a devastating car accident in 1956, which left him with physical scars, Clift relied on alcohol and painkillers to cope, further isolating him from Hollywood society. Clift's story is remembered for his intense talent and the internal battles he fought as a gay man in a world that didn't accept him. His life, marked by quiet strength and resilience, made his performances feel even more profound, leaving an enduring legacy in Hollywood. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins, best known for his iconic role as Norman Bates in Psycho, led a life that was as complex as some of his most memorable characters. Although he later married Barry Berenson and had 2 children, Perkins had earlier relationships with men, including a significant romance with fellow actor Tab Hunter. The pressures of Hollywood and the strict societal expectations forced Perkins to keep his sexuality hidden. Perkins struggled with self-doubt and anxiety, partly fueled by the need to maintain a certain image. The studio system at the time was unforgiving, and coming out could end a career. Marrying Berenson allowed Perkins to meet the expectations of society and the industry, but it didn't erase the inner turmoil he felt. His life was a constant act of balancing his true self with the persona Hollywood demanded, which only added tension to his performances. Perkins's portrayal of Norman Bates had an eerie realism that some believe was a reflection of his own internal struggles. Ramon Novaro. With his chiseled looks and undeniable charisma, Novaro quickly rose to fame in the 1920s, becoming one of MGM's leading men and one of Hollywood's earliest Latin heartthrobs. However, his private life often contrasted sharply with his public image. Novaro was a gay man at a time when Hollywood had zero tolerance for actors who didn't fit into the straight leading man mold, so he was forced to keep his relationships hidden. The studio exerted intense pressure on him to conform to a heterosexual image, often pairing him with female co-stars for public appearances and building a false narrative of his romantic interests to maintain his popularity with fans. Off-camera, Novaro was open with a few trusted friends about his sexuality, and often found brief moments of acceptance in private circles within Hollywood's underground gay community. But living with this secret brought immense stress, leading him to wrestle with guilt and fear of exposure. A devout Catholic, Novaro struggled with reconciling his faith with his sexuality, a conflict that only grew over time, as the demands of his career forced him to remain silent and hidden. As he aged and roles became scarcer, he was plagued by feelings of isolation and personal dissatisfaction, turning increasingly to alcohol and becoming more withdrawn from Hollywood society. Novaro's life took a tragic and violent turn in 1968 when he was brutally murdered in his Los Angeles home by two young men he had invited over. They intended to rob him, believing there was a hidden stash of money in his house. His death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and exposed, albeit briefly, the hidden struggles he had faced for years. Sal Mineo. Known for his role as Plato in Rebel Without a Cause, Mineo's character was considered one of Hollywood's first subtly gay roles, reflecting a part of his own life he later revealed. In the late 1960s, Mineo began dating men openly within his trusted circles, breaking away from the secrecy Hollywood often imposed. His relationships, including a significant one with actor Courtney Burr III, were known among close friends, though Mineo faced challenges balancing his sexuality with a career that was fading partly due to public bias. Mineo also directed his talents toward the theater, where he felt less constrained and openly embraced his identity. Tragically, his life was cut short in 1976 when he was murdered in a robbery attempt. Yet his openness in his final years left an enduring mark on Hollywood's LGBTQ legacy. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy's sexual orientation remains a topic of speculation, but evidence suggests he may have been bisexual. Rumors circulated about his relationships with men, including a supposed long-term relationship with actor John Derek. Biographer Ann Edwards in Katharine Hepburn, A Remarkable Woman, claimed both Tracy and Hepburn were bisexual. Further, the documentary Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood suggested that Tracy and Hepburn's affair was a cover for their true identities. Hollywood insider Scotty Bowers, in his memoir Full Service, alleged he had a relationship with Tracy and that the studio helped keep Tracy's bisexuality hidden. The immense pressure to uphold his public image, along with religious and societal expectations, likely fueled Tracy's battles with alcoholism and depression. Despite being married to Louise Treadwell since 1923 and having two children, Tracy's personal struggles added depth to his layered private life in Hollywood. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, forever remembered as the king of Hollywood, embodied the rugged charm and confident masculinity that defined Hollywood's golden age. Known best for his unforgettable role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, Gable's deep voice, easy charm, and famous smirk captivated audiences and set a new standard for leading men. But behind the silver screen, Gable's life held a blend of secrets and challenges that few knew about. Despite his on-screen confidence, Gable's personal life was more complex. Married 5 times, he had a passionate affair with actress Loretta Young, which led to the secret birth of a daughter. At a time when Hollywood's moral code demanded spotless public images, they concealed the child's true parentage for years. Gable's relentless drive to maintain his tough guy image was, in part, rooted in a need to overcome his humble beginnings and personal insecurities. He threw himself into adventure both on and off screen, and when World War II called, he enlisted as an aerial gunner, further solidifying his image of bravery. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando was a force of nature, redefining what it meant to be an actor in Hollywood. Known for his intense, raw performances, Brando broke all the traditional rules with roles in A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and later as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. His approach to acting was revolutionary. He brought a gritty realism to the screen, channeling deep emotion and often improvising, which made his characters feel alive in a way that Hollywood hadn't seen before. He was as unpredictable as he was talented, and his rebellious spirit set him apart from his peers. Outside of acting, Brando's life was equally unconventional. He was outspoken, often at odds with Hollywood's expectations, and openly supported civil rights and indigenous rights, making headlines when he refused to accept an Oscar in protest of Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans. His personal life was as intense as his career, with numerous relationships and a family life full of complexities and tragedies. Brando's sexuality was fluid, and he spoke candidly about his relationships with both men and women, challenging the norms of his time. Raymond Burr. He was one of the most recognizable television stars of his time, but Burr carefully concealed his sexuality due to the intense stigma against being openly gay in Hollywood's mid-century climate. He crafted elaborate stories to protect his private life, even going so far as to invent fictional marriages and a tragic backstory, claiming he had been widowed more than once, which added to his straight persona and kept prying eyes away from his true relationships. Burr's long-term partner, Robert Benavides, a former actor, became a central part of his life and was involved in his personal and professional affairs. The two shared a home and business ventures, including a vineyard, but they maintained strict discretion in public. Burr's sexuality was known to close friends and trusted colleagues, but he managed to keep it from the general public. In a Hollywood era when being openly gay could end a career, Burr's elaborate cover stories and private lifestyle allowed him to continue working without scrutiny. His commitment to maintaining privacy was both a reflection of the times and a necessity, allowing him to protect a relationship that he cherished while navigating the pressures of public life. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter, discovered at just 17, became a Hollywood heartthrob, not for his acting prowess, but for his good looks and charm. Cast as the clean-cut soldier or romantic interest, he attracted legions of young female fans, which ironically forced him to keep his sexuality hidden. Hunter once described himself as painfully isolated, caught between the casual homophobia of mainstream America and Hollywood's secretive gay subculture, where he also struggled to fit in. In 1950, before he achieved fame, he was arrested at a gay party. Years later, in a strategic move, his agent leaked this arrest to Confidential magazine to stop them from exposing another client, Rock Hudson. Despite this, Hunter maintained his popularity through the 60s, even entering a long-term relationship with actor Anthony Perkins. In his 2005 memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential, he openly shared his story, lifting the veil on a lifetime of navigating Hollywood's closet. Robert Reed. Robert Reed, best known as the wholesome father, Mike Brady on The Brady Bunch, led a complex life behind the scenes, one that contrasted sharply with his all-American TV persona. As a gay man working in an era when Hollywood demanded strict adherence to heterosexual norms, Reed kept his sexuality hidden. He feared that coming out would destroy his career, especially since he was cast in one of television's most family-oriented shows. Reed was known to be meticulous and intense on set, and some close to him believed his internal struggle with his sexuality contributed to his perfectionism and occasional conflicts with the show's producers. Reed's private life was known to a trusted circle, but he carefully maintained his public image, balancing his personal truth with the demands of his career. Tragically, Reed died in 1992 due to complications from colon cancer, though his death certificate revealed he was also HIV positive. This revelation highlighted the difficult and hidden life he had led, forced to keep a part of himself secret in an industry and era that left little room for openness. Reed's story remains a poignant reminder of the challenges faced by LGBTQ actors in classic Hollywood, especially those like him who were tasked with portraying the ideal American family. William Haynes. William Haynes was a prominent actor during Hollywood's silent and early sound eras, celebrated for his charm and comedic talent. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Haynes was openly gay within the industry, maintaining a long-term relationship with his partner, Jimmy Shields. Their partnership was well known among colleagues and friends, including actress Joan Crawford, who described their relationship as the happiest marriage in Hollywood. Despite his popularity, Haynes faced pressure from studio executives to conform to the era's strict moral codes. In the early 1930s, MGM head Louis B. Mayer demanded that Haynes end his relationship with Shields and enter into a traditional marriage to maintain his public image. Haynes refused, choosing his personal life over his acting career. After leaving acting, Haynes found success as an interior designer, with Shields as his business partner. Their firm attracted a high-profile clientele, including many Hollywood stars. Haynes and Shields remained together for nearly 50 years, until Haynes's death in 1973. Haynes's life and career are documented in the biography, Wisecracker: The Life and Times of William Haynes, Hollywood's first openly gay star by William J. Mann, and the documentary, Out of the Closet, Off the Screen: The Life of William Haynes. So did you like this video? If so, please let us know. Should we make a part of the video featuring actors who were actually hidden from the public, but they were closeted in reality?